In the cutthroat world of corporate innovation, big ideas are often born in unexpected places, from the most overlooked voices. But what happens when genius is met with condescension? What happens when a visionary concept, poised to revolutionize an industry, is dismissed with a wave of a hand, a dismissive laugh, simply because of who it came from? Today, we unveil the astonishing true story of Maria Santos, a young Filipino intern, whose revolutionary idea was met with scorn by a powerful American CEO, only to become the very solution that pulled his company back from the brink of collapse, saving them not thousands, but millions. This is a tale of resilience, prejudice, and ultimate vindication that sent shockwaves through the tech world. Story begins, the disregard. On the bustling hallways of Quantum Solutions, a tech giant nestled in Silicon Valley, were a labyrinth of ambition and innovation. Here, millions of dollars were invested daily in groundbreaking research, and the air crackled with the energy of brilliant minds. CEO Richard Vance, a man whose name was synonymous with ruthless efficiency and unparalleled success, presided over this empire. Vance, a towering figure with a sharp gaze and an even sharper tongue, was accustomed to being surrounded by Ivy League graduates, seasoned executives, and a constant stream of yes-men. His vision was singular, his decisions absolute, and his tolerance for anything less than perfection was notoriously thin. Into this high-pressure environment stepped Maria Santos, a recent engineering graduate from the Philippines. She was bright, driven, and armed with a scholarship that brought her halfway across the world for this coveted internship. Maria possessed a quiet demeanor, a stark contrast to the boisterous confidence of her American peers. She was acutely aware of the cultural gap, the subtle biases, and the unspoken expectation to remain in the background, to observe rather than to lead. Yet, beneath her unassuming exterior thrummed a mind brimming with innovative concepts, honed by years of resourcefulness and creative problem-solving in a less privileged environment. Quantum Solutions was facing a formidable challenge. Their flagship product, a data analytics platform called Nexus, was experiencing significant latency issues. Clients were complaining, contracts were being lost, and the company's stock price was beginning to falter. Engineers worked around the clock, proposing complex, expensive solutions, but none seemed to hit the mark. The problem was a bottleneck in the data processing algorithm, a fundamental flaw that threatened to undermine years of market dominance. The pressure mounted, creating a palpable tension that permeated every meeting and every brainstorming session. For Maria, assigned to a junior development team, spent countless nights poring over the Nexus codebase. She didn't just look for bugs, she sought patterns, inefficiencies, and fundamentally different ways to approach the problem. Her perspective, unburdened by years of Western engineering paradigms, allowed her to see connections that others had overlooked. She noticed a subtle, yet critical, redundancy in how Nexus handled concurrent data streams, a flaw that could be elegantly circumvented with a simple, yet radical, architectural shift. It was a solution born from necessity and a fresh pair of eyes. Driven by a desire to contribute, Maria tentatively approached her immediate supervisor, Alex Chen. Alex, a seasoned but weary mid-level manager, listened patiently as Maria explained her idea, her voice soft but her conviction clear. He was initially skeptical, given Maria's intern status, but the logic of her proposal was undeniably compelling. He could see the elegance, the simplicity that had eluded his more experienced engineers. Alex, recognizing the potential, decided to champion Maria's idea, believing it deserved to be heard by the higher-ups, despite the inherent risks of presenting an intern's unconventional solution. The moment arrived for the weekly executive strategy meeting, a forum where only senior leaders typically presented. Alex, with Maria nervously by his side, began to present the proposed solution. He outlined the existing problem, detailed Maria's unique insight into the data processing bottleneck, and then explained her proposed architectural shift, a solution dubbed FluidStream. Maria's eyes darted around the room, taking in the stern faces of the board members, their expressions ranging from polite interest to outright impatience. She gripped her notes, feeling a tremor in her hands. And as Alex finished, CEO Richard Vance leaned back in his plush leather chair, a slow, condescending smile spreading across his face. He glanced at Maria, then back at Alex, a clear smirk playing on his lips. "So, let me get this straight, Alex," Vance began, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "We've got teams of PhDs, years of experience, and millions in R&D, and our savior comes from an intern? A Filipino intern, no less, fresh out of college from a country known for, well, let's just say not exactly leading global tech innovation." A ripple of uncomfortable chuckles spread through the room. Maria's face flushed scarlet, her heart sinking. The weight of his words, the casual dismissal, the thinly veiled prejudice, hit her with stinging force. She had expected skepticism, perhaps even tough questions, but not outright mockery of her background. Vance continued, "Is this some kind of diversity initiative presentation, Alex? Because I'm looking for solutions to save our company, not feel-good stories." His words were a direct assault, not just on Maria's idea, but on her very presence in that room. Alex, usually composed, stiffened. He tried to defend the technical merits of FluidStream, emphasizing its logical simplicity and potential for massive efficiency gains. But Vance cut him off with a dismissive wave. "Look, Alex," he said, pushing a hand through his perfectly coiffed hair. "I appreciate the effort, but we don't have time for unproven, amateur solutions from interns. Stick to what we know works. Let the real engineers handle this." The meeting moved swiftly to other agenda items, leaving Maria and Alex humiliated, their proposal discarded like yesterday's news. The sting of that meeting lingered with Maria. She considered giving up, retreating into the shadows, fulfilling the unspoken expectations of an intern. The experience was a stark reminder of the barriers she faced. Yet, a deeper fire ignited within her, a quiet resolve to prove them wrong. Vance's condescension hadn't broken her spirit. It had forged it into something stronger. She knew her idea had merit, and she wasn't prepared to let it die on the floor of a dismissive boardroom. Even outside the meeting, Alex apologized profusely to Maria. "I'm so sorry, Maria. I really believed in your idea. Vance can be difficult." Maria simply nodded, her gaze distant. But Alex, despite the setback, was impressed by her composure. He saw the flicker of defiance in her eyes. He knew her solution was powerful, and he wasn't ready to let a single, arrogant CEO bury a potentially brilliant innovation. They both understood that they needed a different approach, a way to demonstrate FluidStream's power beyond a mere presentation. Maria, fueled by a mixture of anger and determination, spent the next few weeks refining FluidStream in secret. She built a prototype, a small-scale simulation that graphically demonstrated the performance improvements. She worked late into the nights, coding, debugging, and optimizing, driven by the belief in her work and the desire for vindication. Her small cubicle became a hub of quiet, revolutionary activity, far removed from the bustling executive floors where her idea had been so casually ridiculed. Meanwhile, the crisis at Quantum Solutions deepened. Despite implementing several expensive proven solutions proposed by the senior engineers, Nexus's latency issues persisted. Client complaints escalated, major partnerships were jeopardized, and the company's stock continued its downward spiral. The board, once deferential to Vance, began to express serious concerns. The mood in the company shifted from confident innovation to palpable anxiety. The real engineers were failing, and the pressure on Vance intensified dramatically. In a moment of desperation, Alex, seeing the company flounder, made a bold, unauthorized decision. He approached a sympathetic senior developer, Sarah, who managed a small, non-critical internal server cluster. He convinced her to secretly implement Maria's FluidStream prototype on a segment of Quantum's internal network, using real, non-sensitive data. It was a risky move, a direct defiance of Vance's orders, but Alex was convinced it was their only chance to prove Maria's genius. The results were almost immediate and utterly astonishing. Within days, the internal server cluster running FluidStream showed a dramatic decrease in processing time, a reduction of nearly 60% compared to the identical systems using the old architecture. The system ran smoother, more efficiently, and with significantly fewer resource demands. Sarah, initially a reluctant accomplice, became a fervent believer, meticulously documenting every performance metric, every improvement, building an irrefutable case for Maria's solution. The vindication. Armed with undeniable data, Alex and Sarah knew they couldn't be ignored any longer. They compiled a comprehensive report, filled with graphs, charts, and hard numbers that screamed success. They understood that merely presenting the data wouldn't be enough. They needed to force Vance to confront the evidence directly, in a way that he couldn't simply dismiss with a condescending remark. The stakes were incredibly high for everyone involved, especially Maria. They chose their moment carefully. During another tense executive meeting, where Vance was once again berating his engineering leads for their lack of progress, Alex calmly interrupted. "Mr. Vance," he stated, his voice steady despite the tremor in his stomach, "we may have a breakthrough you need to see. It's not a hypothetical, it's a tested, proven solution." He handed Vance the detailed report, ensuring the CEO couldn't avoid the glaring evidence. Vance glared, annoyance etched on his face. He scanned the report, his eyes widening almost imperceptibly as he absorbed the shocking performance metrics. The numbers were too good to ignore, too dramatic to be fabricated. He looked up, his gaze sweeping from Alex to Sarah, and finally, settling on Maria, who sat quietly in the back, her expression unreadable. The smirk was gone, replaced by a flicker of disbelief, then dawning realization. "Can you explain this?" Vance demanded, his voice devoid of its usual arrogance, tinged instead with a hesitant curiosity. Alex, seizing the moment, walked to the whiteboard and meticulously explained fluid stream, demonstrating how it bypassed the very bottlenecks that had plagued Nexus for months. He highlighted the resource savings, the exponential speed improvements, and the elegant simplicity of Maria's architectural design. Sarah provided additional technical validation, backing up every claim with data from the live internal test. As Alex spoke, Vance listened intently, his expression shifting from skepticism to grudging admiration. He began to ask detailed, probing questions, not with a desire to ridicule, but with a genuine interest in understanding the mechanics. He could see the elegance, the genius, that he had so carelessly dismissed weeks prior. The room grew silent, the other executives watching the transformation of their CEO, sensing a momentous shift in the company's trajectory. Finally, Vance turned to Maria. His voice, once dismissive, was now tinged with a reluctant respect. "Ms. Santos," he said, his eyes meeting hers, "is this truly your design? This fluid stream concept?" Maria, finding her voice, explained the core principles of her idea with clarity and quiet confidence, demonstrating an understanding far beyond her years. She spoke not just of code, but of efficiency, scalability, and future-proofing, articulating a vision for Nexus that no one else had managed. A profound silence fell over the room as Maria finished. Vance slowly stood up, walked to the head of the table, and looked at his senior engineers, then back at Maria. "We have been wasting millions, chasing complex, expensive solutions," he stated, his voice gravelly. "And the answer was right here, from someone we completely overlooked." His words were a public admission of error, a rare and significant moment for the notoriously proud CEO. In a move that stunned everyone, Vance extended his hand to Maria. "Ms. Santos," he said, his voice softer than anyone in that room had ever heard it. "I was wrong. Terribly wrong. Your idea is brilliant, and I want to personally apologize for my dismissal and my prejudiced remarks." It was an unprecedented apology from a man who rarely admitted fault, especially to a subordinate, let alone an intern. Maria, surprised, shook his hand, a silent acknowledgement of her hard-won victory. Quantum Solutions immediately pivoted. Fluid Stream was fast-tracked for implementation into the Nexus platform. Maria was pulled from her intern duties and placed at the head of a dedicated team, given the resources and authority to fully integrate her solution. She collaborated closely with senior engineers, guiding them through the nuances of her design. Her quiet confidence now fully blossomed into assertive leadership. The atmosphere in the engineering department shifted dramatically, a new respect permeating the hallways. Within 3 months, Nexus, powered by FluidStream, was relaunched. The results were nothing short of miraculous. Latency issues vanished, data processing speeds increased by over 70%, and server costs plummeted by 25%. Clients, who had been on the verge of defecting, not only stayed but increased their subscriptions. New contracts poured in, drawn by the platform's newfound efficiency and reliability. The company's stock price soared, recovering all its losses and then some, adding hundreds of millions to Quantum Solutions' market value. Maria Santos, the quiet Filipino intern, became a legend within Quantum Solutions. She was offered a permanent, high-level position, bypassing traditional career paths, and quickly rose through the ranks. Her story became an internal case study on the importance of listening to all voices, regardless of background or perceived status. Vance, humbled by the experience, became an unlikely advocate for diversity and inclusive innovation, often citing Maria's story in his public speeches. The tale of Maria Santos quickly spread beyond Quantum Solutions, captivating the tech industry and inspiring countless aspiring engineers. It was a powerful narrative of triumph over adversity, a testament to the fact that groundbreaking ideas can come from anywhere, from anyone. It challenged deeply ingrained prejudices and underscored the immense value of fresh perspectives, proving that true innovation often thrives outside the traditional, privileged circles. A fluid stream solution didn't just save Quantum Solutions millions. It fundamentally changed how the company viewed talent and innovation. It transformed a culture that once prioritized pedigree over potential, demonstrating that sometimes the most profound answers emerge from the most unexpected places. Maria's quiet resilience and unwavering belief in her own abilities had not only vindicated her but had also enriched an entire corporation. Maria's journey was a stark reminder that labels and preconceived notions limit not only the individual but also the organizations that cling to them. Her story became a beacon, illuminating the path for other underestimated talents to step forward, to speak their truths, and to challenge the status quo. She proved that intelligence and ingenuity know no nationality, no gender, and no social status. Paragraph 30. The next time you see a groundbreaking innovation, consider its origin. Was it born in a polished boardroom, or did it quietly emerge from an overlooked corner, championed by a determined few against the tide of skepticism? Maria Santos's story is a powerful testament to the fact that sometimes the most profound change begins with a single, audacious idea, and the courage to stand by it, even when the world's most powerful voices laugh. Her vindication was not just personal, it was a victory for innovation itself.